Hello, my name is Ted. Today I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about President Trump's advisor, Paula White. In her latest messages, they come actually from her TV show, Paula White. What is it? Paula White Now. I never got to know her TV show name. I should do that. All right. From her TV show and from her church that she gave over to her son. And that's down in Apopka, Florida. Both the messages are very similar. Both deal with Abraham and Lot. The one at her church is much longer. To begin with, at her church, she spends 15 to 20 minutes talking about how Abraham sacrificed so much to God, therefore we should sacrifice by giving our offerings, and by giving our offerings we can become extremely wealthy, just like Abraham became extremely wealthy because he sacrificed so much. Right away I can see she wears the glasses of prosperity gospel, because this is not true. In the book of Genesis, it says nothing about the relationship between his sacrificing so much and his becoming wealthy. What is true in the book of Genesis is Abraham deceived Pharaoh and told him that his wife, Abraham's wife, Sarah, was his sister. Well, this is partially true because she was half-sister. She was also his wife. And so in order to protect himself from men who would attack him and kill him for his wife, because she was gorgeous, she was hot. And in order to protect himself, he told people that this is my sister. And Pharaoh in Egypt looked at her and lusted after her. Oh, this is a hot woman. Man, there's nobody like this in Egypt. I want her. And so he gives Abraham a lot of things, cattle, servants, all kinds of stuff, rewarding him for taking his wife, Abraham's wife, to himself. Pharaoh realizes that this is not good, that this woman belongs to Abraham. And he rebukes Abraham. What the heck are you doing to me? He sends him out. Well, by this time, he is very wealthy. Why? Pharaoh gave him all that through deception. Had nothing to do with sacrifice. But if my sole thinking is God is going to prosper you if you give money to whatever ministry, that's what you're going to see. She's seeing that. It's nowhere there to be found in the book of Genesis. So for a whole 15, 20 minutes, she wastes her time trying to get money out of people who should not be giving to her or her son's ministry. And this is the main thing in both of the messages. Lot is dragging down Abraham. Abraham had a calling. He had a calling to go into a promised land. God told him, I will show you the land when you get there. In other words, he doesn't know where he's going. Just go. All right, Abraham is dragged down by Lot. He's called by God to go out. Was Lot called by God to go out? Absolutely not. Why? Because it doesn't say he was called. But there are a lot of other people in the Bible who are not called directly by God, but who became very godly people doing the works of God and fulfilling God's will. Nevertheless, let's go along with Paula White. So Abraham's being dragged down by Lot because he was not called by God. He should not have gone with him. And because he's not called by God, Lot is a leech.
And now there's going to be strife, division between Lot and Abram, because God never spoke to Abram to bring Lot with him. The truth of this is really not a Lot problem, because Lot's a leech. Lot is one that is a leaner. He's not a lifter. A leech sucks the very life out of you, and that's what Lot will do.
He's leeching on to Abraham. Now, right away, I'm thinking, what in Paula's life is she referring to? Why? Because if you really follow along enough with her, and I wonder, and I see more and more as she preaches, she really does preach out of her own life experience. She's kind of the example of almost everything. She reads herself into so much. And in this particular case, I'm wondering, who are the leeches in her life? And I wonder, is it a political thing? Is she thinking about the political culture? If any of you know about power and clout and people in high positions, you'll know that those people get a lot of leeches, quote unquote, people who kind of attach themselves to them. So you get a famous football player, famous basketball player, famous celebrity, a famous politician. They get people who kind of just hang on them because they want to somehow draw that power for themselves. I believe that's what she's calling a leech. But I look at deeper into some of her past and wonder, were there other people that she considers leeches? They might be associate pastors, they might be who knows what. I don't know. I do, however, believe that she is referring or thinking about leeches in the political world, because that is her world right now. And because she's so close to the president, she sees people leeching onto him. But Lot, by leeching onto Abraham, holds Abraham back from the promise. I don't see this really in the book of Genesis, but she does. And I wonder, is she referring to people who hold her back? Like the walls in her first church, not where she was a pastor, but where she served in her first church, Damascus Church of God in Maryland. The walls were a couple and his parents, so 4 walls, and several others in the congregation were kind of rising up against her and Terry because they were both having an affair outside of their marriages. And Mary Wall stood up in front of the entire church and said, they need to repent for having this affair. And when Randy and Paula started their first church in Tampa, Florida, they called it Church Without Walls. You get the connection? She's letting go of people who are holding on to her and holding her back. The IRS came in, snooping around in her territory because they suspected something was going wrong here. She's making millions. And they checked into several different ministries during that time. They couldn't find anything. It's not that they couldn't find anything. It's just that there were no laws against what they were doing. And there's a difference. Was it moral what she was doing? Taking money from her congregation, from people who were very poor, convincing them that they get rich if they give to her? It was absolutely immoral. But there are no laws against that. So the IRS backed down. Now, interestingly, she saw that as an attack on their ministry because they were so effective against pornography. This tells me her mind is not in any kind of reality, at least at that point. She attacked a YouTuber for coming against her. She attacked and sued the YouTuber. The judge turned it around on her and told the YouTuber to go after her, which the YouTuber did and won. The vice president has attacked her. The vice president of the United States today wrote to the presidency, stay away from her. And his entire prayer group said, stay away from her. But he ignored them. So these are the people who attack her on a regular basis. Was it her husband who dragged her down? Randy. Eventually, he was falling into drugs and having affairs and all kinds of problems. So she sees herself in Lot. I'm convinced of that. And Lot, creates divisions, she says. Because eventually Lot's group grows so big and Abraham's group grows so big, both of them have a lot of cattle. And the people who work under them battle and eventually have to part. Abraham has to let go of his nephew, Lot, and let him go on his own. And she sees this as what he needed to do all along, is let go of those people who hold you back. Paula White calls him a leech. I believe this may come from politics, it may come from her personal life, but it does not come from the Bible. Paula White then says that Lot's name means deception and veiling, and it comes from the word witchcraft.
He said there's blessing all around you, but you cannot see it because of Lot in your life. Now, Lot's name is very revealing because his name means to deceive, to be hidden. It literally means to veil. It comes from a root of sorcery, black magic, the arts. So when you think about that, Lot is literally things that blind you, like the spirit of Jezebel. You're wrestling and dealing with witchcraft, with things that are deceiving, things that are hidden. Think how Paul said, "Oh, you Galatians, who has so easily bewitched you." How is it that an entire region cannot see what God is doing?
This is completely untrue. There have been people for thousands of years trying to understand what the word Lot means. And the Jewish scribes, the rabbis, the Jewish writings from back 1800 years ago cannot conclude what his name means. They come up with different things. Lotus, like the flower. So Lot was a flower. They think maybe it was a curse. Maybe it was, and there's all different types of things, or also something good, a covering. But she hovers over because she wants to see evil in Lot. She wants to see the demonic in Lot. Why? Because Lot is holding back Abraham from his blessings. Just like in her life, so many people have held her back. Her whole conclusion is, you got to get rid of these people who hold you down. But I think back to Naomi and Ruth in the book of Ruth. And I think Naomi held Ruth back. Ruth could have prospered in her homeland if she just would have parted from Naomi. Because Naomi was a widow, and widows have a tough go in their countries at that time. They don't have people to take care of them. Naomi was a widow, as Ruth was, but Ruth was still marriage material. She's a good-looking woman. She could have gone back to her country and married another man and been taken care of the rest of her life. But she chose to allow Naomi to be a burden to her for the rest of her life, sacrificing, in her thinking, sacrificing her entire life for another person. I see the complete opposite with Paula White. I think She lets go of people, and everywhere she goes, you read about her past and you find that everywhere she's been, she leaves a trail of destruction. In the Church of God in Damascus, in Church Without Walls, and in her latest church, the one she gave over to her son. There's been nothing but destruction. They've gone down. They've gone bankrupt. People have been hurt, wounded. But she somehow comes out ahead of them all, pushing one person aside, then another, finally getting to the presidency of the United States. She implies that family members who hold you back got to be let go. I don't think that is scriptural at all. People will hold you back from time to time. Sure, there are people who are toxic, and I will agree in those situations where you have a choice to get rid of those, let them go. There are times to let go of people, but there are times where you're going to have to sacrifice. Like Ruth, sacrifice to give yourself over and allow your life to be less than what it could be so that you can help somebody else be more than they could be. And that, to me, is what the gospel is all about. Not putting everybody away, ruining one life after another so you can get ahead. That's about all I got to say. This is Ted. May you have a good day. And may you find somebody in your life that you can give up something of yours, some dream of yours. It doesn't have to be huge. A small dream of yours. And help them out to have a dream of theirs. You know, I think the gospel is about giving ourselves for others. Sacrificing our life so other people might live. This is Ted. Have a good day.